at Tony Robbins right now down at Los Angeles. He's doing Unleash the Power Within. Have any of you seen who Tony Robbins is? He's amazing. I attended in Chicago. But what I love about what he does is he does interventions, like live interventions. Like someone will have a problem, and he'll go right up to them, and he'll like work it out in front of everybody. That's kind of like what I do. I love doing it. I do it in the class. I think I just want to be Tony Robbins. I do it in the classroom in Marriage and Family. I have people crying, and I said, did you guys just see that? Do you see what that was right there? And I define it, and everyone's crying, and I love it. And then I have to say, are you okay that we did that in front of everybody? And the students usually forgive me, but I love working with students. I love seeing change. And what I want this session to be for you is I want it to be life-changing. I want you to be able to take this information that you get today and use it within 10 minutes. I want you to use it tomorrow. I want us to have these moments where we kind of reckon, oh my gosh, this is my reality, and how can I make a difference in the world? So let's talk about Gen Z. I have two Gen Zers. I have a 15-year-old and a 19-year-old in my home, so I know they're weird. I totally relate to you. They are different than millennials. I love millennials, many of them in the room, but there was a shift. There was a shift between 2014, 15, when college administrators around the United States started saying, what is happening with this generation that's coming to college? See, Gen Z went to college around those years, and all of a sudden, the way students engaged the classroom, the way they engaged relationships, the way they coped in the residence halls, all of a sudden, we're talking panic attacks, right? We're talking major anxiety, we're talking depression, all kinds of craziness started coming up. It's always existed, but it started increasing. Not only that, is we couldn't find our prospective students online. We're like, we used to have Facebook groups with like 100 kids, and all of a sudden, 2014, 15, it was like they were gone. We're like, what is happening in the world? So a bunch of us from different universities got together, and we said, what is going on with this generation? And we realized it was Generation Z, and overnight things changed. So we began doing research. So I'm going to share some of the research that we found. And what I'm going to do today is just define your reality. And I'm so excited for our experts that are here today, our leaders that are going to come share their experience, because we can learn together. I want to know what they're doing. I want to know what they're doing to fix stuff, okay? Because I need to know how to be a better parent. I need to know how to be a better therapist and a professor. So let's talk about Gen Z. Next slide. Gen Z, they're the youngest generational cohort on the planet and the largest. They make up over 25% of the world's population. This means that in the coming years, they will not simply influence culture, but they will be culture, added to this fact that they are the first post-Christian generation in American history. We gotta pay attention. We gotta pay attention. We see this at camps. You guys know what you're dealing with. I mean, we need triage at camps. We're talking like front lines, kids melting down, kids that have no idea who this Jesus, what is the Holy Spirit, and what is happening to my friend next to me. No clue. No clue. So we got to understand them. So I'm going to go over some brief facts. On your table, you have a quick sheet of some facts about Gen Z. Some of you are more equipped about who Gen Z is, and some of you, they're like, this is the first you've heard of it. Real quick, they are younger, older, but older, younger. Okay? Their entrepreneurship is in their DNA. They value non-traditional education. They're not going to go the normal routes. They are very worried about the economy. Gender roles are changing. They're post-Christian, so on and on and on. So let's go into technology real quick. Let's talk about how technology has shaped Generation Z compared to millennials. Well, these are digital natives who don't want to be tracked. They don't want to share stuff. They don't want to be seen. And if mom and dad are on Facebook, you better know that Facebook ain't cool anymore. Okay? They don't want you stalking them. They don't want you in their business. Okay? Their attention span is 8 seconds. It was 12 seconds only, I think, in 2012. Incredible. So you got a minute. No, you got a second. I tell children's pastors, you got to be big to get their attention. You got to out-energize them within the first few seconds that you want to start your lesson. They're actually a lot more sedentary. Remember us? Well, maybe not you millennials, but I'm Gen X. So we would go out and play all day. All day. And our parents didn't even care where we were. That would never happen now. My daughter's 15 and she still can't ride her bike around the block. I know, just kidding. That's her dad, not me. No. They're more sedentary. So what does that mean? If you're sedentary, you're a little more unhealthy, actually have more weight problems, more physical problems, and so we're seeing that in this generation. They're 4D, multiple screens. I'll never forget the day I walked into my office and one of my Gen Z staff workers had her earbuds in. She had her 2 screens. She had also Netflix playing in the corner, which that is not okay. That is not okay at work. And then she was listening to music, and I thought, this is the way they are. Multiple screens, and it's crazy. They love YouTube, that's their education, and they don't share information very much. They communicate with text, Snapchat, and they're collaborative. They're better online communicators. They're quick. It doesn't mean they're thorough, and that's hard for faculty and professors and educators because these students don't know how to write, and they are cryptic in their messaging. This generation is also global, so the world is at their fingertips, and so they're very much aware of what's going on in the world. And so they can talk to anybody at any time, and so they don't have to go out of the house. So mental health, let's talk about mental health. What makes them who they are? They are post-9/11 kids. They are not wearing the rose-colored glasses that millennials wore. In fact, they're quite terrified. I talk to them all the time. They're scared about safety. You know the questions we get the most about from prospective students? I even had a 12-year-old ask me about the campus safety. Do we have security cameras, and what is the city like? They are scared. They're scared. Why do you think they're scared? Shootings, the news, crime, the political climate? Absolutely. So you need to understand they are terrified. They have a fear of the future. They have a fear of getting the right degree, getting the right job, making sure that the job they have is the job they want. There's this very concrete thinking. Instead of like dream big, dream bold, they want to know what's going to happen when, and will their future be secure. There's a lot more blended and modern families, multi-generational, multicultural, less coddling. I know that seems weird in contrast to what we've been talking about, but millennials were a little bit more coddled than Gen Z. More parents are going the opposite extreme and letting them be a lot more independent, figuring out things on their own. I know that's the way we raise our kids, figure it out. So there is a shift in that regard. The iPhone launched in 2007. That has changed everything. If you want to know the difference in all the generations, iPhone 2007, what has happened? Uber connectivity and mental health crisis has gone through the roof. Suicide rates have gone up, depression has gone up, anxiety has gone up, and that was the shift that we saw in our institutions. That not only was one therapist or one chaplain acceptable anymore, no, we need an army. In fact, have you heard, I don't know, in California, the new initiatives that they're coming out with, that they're putting more mental health professionals in the school systems. So if you want job placement, have your students go into the mental health professions. They'll be employed. They're not driving or hanging out with friends. We have tons of students that do not drive and do not have their licenses. It's very common. Why do you think that is? What? Uber, right, Lyft, Uber, and the phone. They don't need to go to their friends. They can talk to their friends via text. There's trauma and tons of exposure. They are sleep deprived because who's their neighbor? Who sleeps in the bed with them? Their phone. Yep. I have lots of children, lots of youth and next-gen clients that are sleep deprived, getting 5 to 6 hours a night, and they actually need close to 10. They are dating less, and sex is actually later in life. I don't know if you know that. We might think, oh, praise the Lord, we are doing our job. Kids are abstaining. No, they're not. It's called pornography. And it's called isolation and social anxiety, and it's easier to have sex in isolation than it is to actually engage another person. This phone is doing a number on us. They are more connected but lonelier. Depression, suicide, and anxiety is an all-time high. We just need to know the facts. Again, this is an amazing generation. I wouldn't be doing the work I'm doing if I didn't absolutely love Generation Z, but they need us now more than ever, and that's why this conversation is so important. And lastly, let's talk about faith. This generation has a faith crisis. Would you agree? We are post-Christians, so we have, I even was talking with a couple clients this week that were questioning, they've been raised in the church and questioning if they believe in God. Our culture is creating a dynamic where we aren't really sure what we believe in anymore, and the church has become somewhat irrelevant because of all of the political issues facing the church and state. So let's talk about a few things related to Gen Z. Gen Z has a strong desire to make a difference with their lives. That is true. They want to make a difference. They want to be connected, and they want their lives to count. That's why they're really involved in causes. And if you can give them something to believe in, they will go the distance. But they have to believe in it. They are attracted to what will enable them to make a difference. A faith that is privately engaging but socially irrelevant will not attract them. So we have to be legit. We can't fake it anymore. We got to be real. My kids got to see me living it out every day. Every day. Secondly, traditional morality will be a tricky conversation. I cannot wait to hear from our youth leaders and our next-gen leaders because I want to see how they're navigating the conversation in their youth groups, in their churches. So basically, as they are not only sexually fluid themselves, but consider relational acceptance a lifestyle affirmation to be synonymous. So individual freedom is simply a core value. So if you disagree with a sexual lifestyle or someone who's struggling with their sexual orientation, identity, if they're dealing with dysphoria, guess what? If you have a judgment about that, then you don't love God. And they take offense to that. They take offense and will write you off. So we have to navigate these conversations very carefully and very thoughtfully and skillfully. And third, a final question will revolve around their deep sense of awe and wonder about the universe. More than any other generation, Generation Z has an openness to spirituality via cosmology. So the cosmos is important. That's why we see a lot more students engaged in witchcraft or spiritualism. We see it a lot, and it's kind of blended. I see it just in my own private practice as well as you see it on the news and on the internet. So listen, faith is there. They just don't know what they believe. Students come to college and we assume they know the story of Joseph. They don't even know what we're talking about. So pastors are missing it a lot of times. I can't wait to hear from you, Seth, because you see it. But we have to really understand where these kids are coming from regarding faith. Let me just define it this way. Some of their questions. This is so good. Did Jesus rise from the dead? The question is now, so what if he did? What does it matter? What is the relevance? Instead of asking, does God exist? The question is now, what kind of God would call for the killing of an entire people group? They want to know, what is God's heart? And it's hard for them to reconcile what they see with what we're telling them about who God is. Instead of testimonies about lives changed through Christ, their question would be why lives currently lived by Christians aren't more changed, but are instead marked by judgmentalism, hypocrisy, or intolerance. We cannot fake it any longer. We can't. Parents, we can't. Youth leaders, we can't. Pastors, we can't. We can't live one way on Sunday and a different day on Monday. They will call BS. They will call BS. So we got to get real about our own lives. It starts with us, right? We got to engage this content for us and change ourselves so that we can make a difference with Gen Z. So there's some highlights. There's a flyover of who Gen Z is, but they are different from millennials. We're going to break that down a little more when we have our panelists. But how many of you are thinking, wow, I want to engage this content because there is a mission for me? How many of you are feeling that this afternoon, yeah? I want to be more equipped. Every time I talk about Gen Z, I feel more motivated and more connected and more confident to engage even my students and my clients and even my kids.